Welcome back. The long departure of Karen Harshman finally came to an end this week when state education officials ordered that Karen Harshman be removed from the Washington County Board of Education. Danielle, has justice finally been served? And before I let you answer that question, that's a misleading question because all options have not been finished.
That's correct.
There is still an option that an appeal could be filed.
Right.
So,
okay, here's my, I'm just so on the fence about this one. And we've talked about this before, about the charges that were brought against her, and if you want to call it that, and what she had actually done wrong, and if it was grounds for removal. So it was misconduct and willful neglect of duty, and I found her guilty, if you will, of two of four charges that are, I don't know if you call them bylaws or whatever it is with the Board of Ed. I don't know, guys. I'm on the fence.
Well,
her attorney, I don't think, did her any favors during the hearing. He unfortunately, and I don't know why he did this, but I joked about it as being the Chewbacca defense, in that he said that part of the reason that his client made the statements she did is because she saw something similar on a Dr. Phil episode.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not going to win anybody over. That's just going to kind of like, okay, really? You're going to blame Dr. Phil?
But it's also the Trump mentality too, right? So every time he feels, let's say, passionate about something, he goes straight to Twitter and puts it out there without sleeping on it. And I think that's what happened.
I would agree with you, except for the fact that she had multiple chances to go back and apologize and say, hey, I shouldn't have said what I did. I misspoke. I don't believe that she ever actually followed through with that.
There could have been more proper channels.
Now, with that said, I'm going to say I am actually saddened by this. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm saddened by this because I think that she's had a lot of stress with her, especially revolving around the last election cycle that she was participating in. I think that she has really gotten a lot of her personal issues get to her. So I truly hope that maybe her being removed, if she doesn't appeal, maybe her being removed may actually end up being a good thing for her because it might let her find some peace.
I ran the last election against Karen, okay? So I got to know her a little bit. She's not an awful individual.
No, she's not.
Okay, she's not. So I'll get that out first. I think it's a shame that the situation got as far as it did when it could have been handled better back in November. There was opportunities for her to address it, and the feathers were still going to be ruffled because just look at the way the Board of Ed operated over the last 2 years. There was a lot of contention there. I don't think it would have gotten to this point. But as Ron said earlier, this isn't over.
Right.
Okay? To quote Wes Unseld from the Washington Bullets, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. And she still has the opportunity to take this to court and challenge this. And we don't know how the court's going to decide on this. But right now, it's where do we go from here? Is she going to accept it and go on? Because I did watch the video, and her attorney prosecuted someone who did not violate the law 30 years ago, which was the basis of this allegation. He prosecuted this individual who was another board member, and then, there was allegations made against a couple people who are in the school system. Now, they didn't name the names, but I think they've been sort of circulating in the community and tarnished their reputations. There has to be some type of recourse. It would have been easier for her to step away. I understand partially why she didn't, pride. But, on your statement of saying, gee, she is a good individual, and, I think she's doing what she feels is in the best interest. But I think she's all, the election took a toll on her. She was subjected to an unusual level of contention in a Board of Ed election. And she's had some challenging issues on outside of her office. So all that plays in. It's a shame because I think she could do better, but I think the county deserves better. We need someone who can function in that seat to benefit our kids.
I'm right there with you on that. And there's a big difference between allegations and, charges
Right.
into a court case. It's just, I definitely agree with what you said about back, in November that it got out of control.
Yeah, and something that I do, I kind of agreed with her attorney on this. Unfortunately, Maryland law doesn't currently allow it. Is that he said that some sort of recall election process could have been followed. Now, unfortunately, Maryland law doesn't allow for a recall election for a
But
Board of
shouldn't
Education
the attorney
member.
have known that before he stepped up?
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. But I think that that's actually a valid talking point that we should have a recall election process in Maryland.
Well, I think maybe you do in Washington County. I know Karen Harshman well. I like Karen Harshman. Personally, I like Karen Harshman. I know her husband, Mike. He was my boss at MAC for a long period of time. And in this whole process, there were four powerful people on the school board, to include the superintendent, which made 5 that railroaded things that they wanted done over
Right.
the system. And they got it done.
Right.
She was a person that didn't like to stand in the way or just let them ramrod over, so she fought for herself. And the comments that she made about issues, I won't go any farther about what those issues were, but they were issues that should be listened to.
Right.
Okay? When they got the administrative judge to hear this case, I've been before a Maryland administrative judge when I got caught for drunken driving when I was the administrator for the Property Tax Assessment Appeals Board for the state of Maryland. If that administrative judge that she had was anything like the one I had, I almost had to take the administrative judge to court for the inaccurate decisions that was levied against me for things that I didn't do, wasn't said in the transcript or anything.
Right.
Things a lot of times aren't as clear cut as you think they are. In this particular case, who wins out? The people with the money, the power persons at the Board of Education, they've got their handle on this part. You'll run again. You ran the last time that you ran because you seen an opening in a dysfunctional system. Okay?
And it got more dysfunctional
Yeah.
following the
Right,
election.
but it was dysfunctional at the point that you ran. And that was when one group had the power. If you want to be an effective school board, and I told Clayton Wilcox to his face before he left here, you should have stayed here and run this system. You're going to Mecklenburg County, down in South Carolina, and ensure that you're going to get along with people down there. It's
Well-
got to be a point. He railroaded a lot of stuff
But
through the system.
regarding Karen Harshman, okay, 2 of the individuals that really had the axe to grind are no longer on the school board. One lost in the election, and the other one, I know, and he told me several years ago that he was not planning on running in the election. It wasn't just, oh, well, I'm not going to run because of this issue with Karen Harshman. So he made that decision consciously long before this ever occurred. So the actions done by Karen, if they were addressed, we wouldn't be here today. But they weren't addressed. There wasn't cooperation. And that cooperation led us to the point that we had to have an administrative hearing and multiple tits for tats. And it's cost the taxpayers and the school system money that could be better used in the school system. And regardless of your opinion of the 4 to 3 or the 5, if you include Dr. Wilcox in the equation, regardless of your opinion of that, you still have to have some type of function. You have to have some type of negotiation and brokerage. Sometimes it should be a 7-0 decision because it could be a slam dunk, but I appreciate that she has a voice.
Do you realize 95% of the votes on the school board was 7-0?
Right.
95%.
Right.
It's only the
Well,
ones
you know,
with
I
the
appreciate-
are
It
the
was
ones
an
we heard
alliance.
about.
I appreciate that Karen Harshman had a voice of dissent, and now, because of the way the election turned out, she has the voice of a majority. So there's good benefit to that. But there's certain things that you can't do. Making allegations, not substantiating them,
Right.
okay, that's an issue. And unfortunately, you know, while I don't harbor any ill will towards Karen Harshman, I think it's best for the school system to move on and then discuss how we're going to fill that position rather than appeal it, okay, which would be appointing of a committee and then making a recommendation from that committee, and that could be Al Martin. Okay, Al Martin ran in the last election. We have Linda Murray who ran in the last election. There's several individuals who may have an interest.
They could pick you. They could pick you, Henry.
They could if I was willing to put my name out. Donna Brightman, you know, she was scheduled to be president of the State Board of Education. I'm not exactly sure.
MABE, Maryland
yes.
Board of Education.
Right.
She was scheduled to be president, and she lost the election. So her name. Anyone have any feelings on those?
No, I mean, I don't know who exactly would actually apply for it or who wouldn't, but I'm really curious to see who puts their names in the hat, if they even get that option.
Well, bottom line, the reason we're talking about this is for the best interest of our kids in this community and
Yeah.
with education.
And you've had the last word. Up next, Fast Five. Stay tuned.